This is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby, Jeff Gerard. All right, your financial life starting late. Roth IRAs. Look, back in the 90s, just a brief little how the watch is made kind of conversation. Back in the 90s, mid-90s, Bill Clinton lost the House, lost the Senate. Republicans came in, the Newt Gingrich revolution, if you will, conservative contract with America, and they said, oh, we're going to do this. So together, imagine this, Congress and the president actually worked together. They compromised. And the president was able to, President Clinton, work together with the Republican Congress. Together they put together a plan that said, we're going to allow people to save money post-tax, that means after-tax money, into a retirement account, let it grow, don't pay taxes on the interest. Then when you take it out, you're not paying taxes on the withdrawal. That was an amazing experience. In fact, I remember I was speaking like the next week in front of a group of financial people when that passed. And I remember saying that I don't know if we could have asked for a better gift in the financial world as a consumer, because I thought it was amazing. I still do. Here's what it is. You go to work, you make $50,000, you put $5,000 into a Roth account. You still pay taxes on your ordinary income tax on the $50,000, whatever it is, whatever write-offs you have today, however that works. But that $5,000 sits behind, grows, you pay taxes on nothing ever again, not on the interest, not on the principal, not on the withdrawal, never. As long as you take it out for retirement later on, you're golden. So why does that help you? Because later on, if you are living in California and you are in a 10% tax bracket, which most, if not all of the folks that are going to retire in California under today's rules are going to probably be darn near close to 10% just in income tax. That means when you withdraw those dollars, you are paying an extra 10% to the government of the state of California. That is now tax-free under a Roth IRA. Federal taxes, tax-free. So together, if you're at a 20% bracket between state and federal, Jeff, that's like getting a 20% pay raise, and who wouldn't turn that down?
That's right. And I think that's the conversation that people aren't having. And then they're surprised in retirement when they have budgeted for less because they did not factor in taxes, among other things in retirement. You know, healthcare, you have all these other things that are going to be an ongoing expense, but taxes are going to be a big conversation. So planning for that now, that's where I think the Roth can really benefit you. Now, if you put money into a Roth 10 minutes before retirement, well, that's great. You have some money in there that you can access tax-free, but it'll have to be 5 years from the time you open the account, and depending on how much you put in, that will be proportionately how it impacts your life. But what Eric's talking about is starting earlier, putting a lot of your contributions, or as many as you can, toward that tax-free scenario. Now you might have two buckets. You might have buckets of dollars that have not been taxed yet, that you needed the tax write-off when you were a high income earner, but you were able to squirrel away some in the post-tax scenario, and then you can take money from there for extra spending and not trigger the next tax bracket and Social Security taxes and a bunch of other things that come along with that. So the Roth comes into play, I think, very nicely, and as much as you can shift over to that side, I think that's the best thing to do.
It works very nicely when you're trying to plan, if you will, for your future on where you're going to live as well. For a lot of folks, you're planning, many do anyway, to pay off their home about the same time you're going to retire. Why was a 30-year mortgage? Why not 25 years? Why not 36 years? Why was a 30-year mortgage part of the retirement world, if you will, for Americans? Because most of you, us, went to work, we bought a house, and you kind of never left. But if you're a man and you're going to work and you're 20 years old and you're 25 and then 27, that's about the time when you're ready to get married. You've kind of settled into what career you're going to have. You find your 22-year-old wife, because that's about the numbers, was about 5 years. So she's ready to get married, done with her schooling. You're now 27. 30 years plus 27 gives you what age? About 57 years old. So you might move once, you might move twice, but ultimately just about the time you're ready to retire is about 30 years from when you stayed in the same house forever. But today people aren't doing that. For some reason, we have found moving every couple of years for whatever reason is the norm, especially in Southern California. So expect to have a mortgage in retirement. But if you don't, that is another way you can retire sooner, whether that means you take your $200,000 in equity and you retire in Las Vegas, or Phoenix or in another place where it's less expensive to live. Now your $2,000 or $3,000 house payment is gone. That means you no longer have to earn that kind of money or the taxes that go on top of it. Right? So do you follow me? So if you have a house payment, Jeff, of $2,000 a month, you don't have to earn $2,000. No, no, no.
That's right. You have to earn more than that.
Payroll taxes, income taxes. You're somewhere around 25% more. So that means you have to earn $2,500. You give $500 to the federal and state government. You get your $2,000, and then you give that to the house payment. If you don't have to do that, that means you don't have to make $2,500. That's pretty exciting. So having a house paid off in retirement is another way to retire earlier, especially if you get started saving later. Jeff, one of the other things that I love about this is getting a debt payoff plan in order.
I think it's essential. Carrying an expense into retirement, like a car payment or a home, a mortgage payment. I think that's separate. That wouldn't qualify under this. We call it bad debt because it's where you have to go to work to make the money to pay the people that lent you the money. Here's what I mean. If you have a credit card payment of $500 or $1,000 a month, or maybe several credit cards where that's now a chunk of your income, that might be a big chunk of your income, that goes away as soon as you give that to your creditor. So carrying that into retirement, I think that's something you can exhaust while you're working. And I think it's, if you ask anybody in the professional, in the finance world, they would tell you to pay your debt off before you get to retirement. But here's what I want to give you as an asterisk. If you're going to pay off credit card debt and that's your focal point, and you're going to neglect saving for retirement to do that, think about that first, because I'm not saying that that's the right or the wrong way to do it, but I would say if there's a healthy combination, you don't ever want to get, in my opinion, to your retirement years, have less saved than you could have had you saved more aggressively, and then paid off your debt, maybe 10 minutes after retirement. But, so I've called it the race to zero, where you say, great, I've done everything I possibly can to get rid of all of my debt, and I don't have a savings. So I have to keep working, so you kind of have extended your working years by not doing it, in a balanced fashion. So I would be cautious leaning to one side or the other too heavily.
I remember getting to starting in the financial services world, and I was so excited when our net worth was zero. I was like, I can't wait to be worth nothing instead of being worth negative, right? Because once I got taken in a bunch of scams, you got to try to figure out how you build your financial life back. And part of that was, woohoo, I'm worth nothing, so that I can start becoming worth something when we come back. Total Financial Solutions Save for Money Hour. What if you start at 45 years old? Here's a plan. You're at 45 years old. You have 21 years to retirement. Can you get that magic million? You might be able to, and we do that a whole lot more. We got those calculations, a little bit of formula, and a plan for your life when we return. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby and Jeff Gerard on AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Okay, your family's financial life, you're starting to save. Roth IRAs have become a big part of it. For a lot of folks, Roth IRAs are misunderstood. They don't realize that it's post-tax money. And you cannot double dip. In other words, you can't put money in a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA, or a Roth 401k and a regular 401k, because you're allowed a certain dollar figure. So however you mix and match it, that's fine. But you cannot max out one and max out the other. You can only do a combination of the two to equal the total number that the IRS gives you. So, for example, you want to start saving at 45, or let's say you're mid-40s, and you have 21 years left. What can you do? Is there a plan to do it? In fact, there is. At a 7% return. Now, that's kind of high, especially in today's interest rate market. Some of you are getting more than that in the world of stocks and bonds and crazy REITs and all of that. Some of you can get pretty darn close to that in certain annuity plans. Wonderful. But think of it this way. If you have 21 years, and you're saving $15,000 a year, it's a lot. Whether you do tax, pre-tax, post-tax, doesn't matter at this point. You're going to have nearly $750,000, $750,000, and you're now 66, 65 years old. So not bad. Most of you are going to work to that time anyway. especially if that's the time you start earning more money, because what happens is you become more valuable. What used to be the case, at least my experience has been, where people would say, oh, we want younger people because they cost less money and that energy and da-da-da. And then you get those younger people and they don't show up, or they quit a job, or they show up asking you what's in it for me, and they forget they have to contribute before they're worth anything to the team.
Sure.
You know, they think that they have a degree, and I've worked, for 15 minutes for Google and 2 hours for Apple, so I must be worth something because my mom said so. So and usually more seasoned workers and people tend to go, you know what? I'm part of a team here. I have to contribute before I can ask for a whole lot. So
Yeah.
the value of a worker later on in life seems to be a little bit higher. My experience has been anyway, that they're not just letting them go like they used to.
I think there's a little bit more skin in the game too, because in your 40s and 50s, you're not trying to hop on to the next hot train out or in a town, or on the next fancy job, or switching careers. You want to be kind of settled in, and not settled in the sense that you settled for something, but like Arif said, being part of a team. And then the other part that comes with that is they're looking for a place to help them sock away some dollars. Now, if you have a retirement plan at work in your 40s and 50s, and you remotely like your job, I'd venture to say you're probably going to do your best to retire there, whether it's retirement by virtue of the company and they offer a pension and gold watch and the whole party and the whole 9 yards, or you just say, look, what am I working for? It's to create a lifestyle while I'm working between now and the time I retire, and then the ultimate goal is to save enough money to get to retirement where you don't have to trade your time for money anymore. And I want to break this down for a second, because I think it makes a lot of sense. $15,000 a year, someone might say that's a lot or a little bit of money. But if you were to just equate it to this, a little over $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year, right? So you do the math backwards to come up with 15 per year. There is a percentage of your income that equals that $1,000 or even $1,500 per month. If that's 25% of your income, and you say, gosh, I don't know that I can afford that, think of a quarter of your income replacing 100% of your income in the next 20 years. I think if you look at it that way, look, I give up a quarter of my effort to get 100% of the benefit at whatever time you set to retire. I think that's a darn good trade-off.
Especially if you can learn how to cut back. Because for a lot of people, that extra $1,000 a month, right? Because that's about the net. Yeah. Remember this. You go to work, you make money, you have to pay taxes. If you can put money aside before you pay those taxes, it's as if you're saving a little money. So when would I do that? I want you to start right away, but let's say you receive a pay raise. Yesterday you didn't live on that 2 or 3%. Tomorrow, just put it away. What if you were to pay off a car, or the last payment for your daughter's child's college, right? Her student payments. Or your son, you were helping him out. He finally got married, got his job. He's out on his own. He's 25, 26. Really, people? Really? Some of you are still doing that. You're still paying for those folks' lives. But let's say it's time you have stood up and said, I'm an adult, and hey, guess what? Junior, you are too. And now you have extra money each month, right? So think of it this way. You are paying for somebody else's college, car insurance, giving them $20. It's time for them to move on, because you need those monies for your retirement. So in other words, you don't have to just go out and make extra money necessarily. You can take those dollars that you were paying yesterday, and now you're putting it aside for your future. Because unless you are you're giving your child who's 25 or 26, and finally you're paying for her car and her fancy vacations, and she's got a job, but she only makes minimum wage, but you take a look and she's always the latest, newest smartphone and the computer, and wow, that's nice clothes. You got your hair done again? You're like, really? So I'm working so you can get your hair done, kid. Come on. Then you better hope he or she's going to buy a nice home where you can live in the back or the front or the side, because they now have to become part of your retirement plan, and you better be investing in them. And if you say, I don't want to live with them, then this is part of your life. All right.
Yeah.
The employer match, remember, is a big part of that plan. The employer match is the contribution that has a vesting provision. Now, Jeff, a lot of people bounce around from job to job.
That's right.
But if you leave early and it's vested, what happens?
You might leave some money on the table. And part of it, remember, is that when an employer hires you, they haven't seen their value yet, as we were pointing out earlier. You may make a wage, and you don't know where the bathroom is. You don't even know how to, push start on the coffee maker. I mean, you're going to have to learn a lot of things before you become valuable. And part of that for the employer is to give you some incentive to staying, but they also have to reap the value of hiring you in the first place. So let's say it takes 2 or 3 years before they really start to see your value blossom. They want you to stay because they don't want you to leave 10 minutes after they've started to see some traction. They want you to be there for a while. So they may say, look, if you put money in this retirement plan, well, let's back up. After 1 year, you might be able to contribute to the retirement plan. Not right away, but certain benefits come with being there for 3 months, 6 months, a year, so on. And then they say, anytime you put money in, we put money in. You say, that's great. But if you leave in 4 years, you may not be vested, which just means that they don't let you take the money with you. It's kind of like dangling the carrot, 5 or 7 years out there. And once you've been there that long, then you get to take that money that they've put in and the money that it earned with you. So is that something you have to really actively manage? No, it's kind of an accounting thing. You put money in, it kind of all goes in the same bucket. But if you leave early, that's when they start to say, okay, you were here 3 years, we owe you nothing, or 60% of what we put in. So it's kind of a little formula that they have. And just remember, if you're going to bounce around job to job, you can take the money that you've put into those accounts and any earnings you have, you can roll that over, you can leave it there. But once you separate from service with that company, you probably left the unvested part in that account somewhere.
All right, we're going to continue with that and a whole lot more. How to keep your own money. And I'm going to come up with an age-old, maybe tried and true, maybe you've never heard of it, solution for your retirement. We come right back. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the show. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Hey, it's all about lunch choices. That's what we're trying to figure out here. And on your hometown station. I don't know if you know, but you might have understood it. KHTS, hometown station, is now on Main Street, right down in downtown Newhall. Come visit the new studios. It's amazing. You can look at the studios from the street. You can pay attention to what we're doing, see what we look like, even chime in now and again if you want. We have questions and answers on occasion, so that's good for you to hear about the topic, see what's going on. Man on the street, woman on the street type interviews. If you're an informed kid on the street. Boy, that would be amazing. That would give me some hope, wouldn't it? About society and the future and what we're trying to do here on Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour, which is really giving you an opportunity, in my opinion, to make a difference in your own life. For so many of you, we've given up and abdicated our responsibility for retirement to our employer. I don't know why. I don't know when. I was never raised this way. It never crossed my mind. Maybe it did at one point. But I don't understand how you would expect your employer to pay for your health insurance, or your employer to pay for your car insurance, or why not give you movie tickets every Friday night? Oh no, Arif, just the health insurance. Well, then why retirement? I mean, I get the whole. You work there, you dedicate for 37 years, and they give you a gold watch and a union pension, so you can sit on the porch and watch the antelope go by. But you have to take responsibility. We're America. We get up from our bootstraps. We take it ourselves. You do the right thing with your money, whether you make $20,000 a year, 30, 40, 50,000 a year, or per month. You have to manage your own money properly. Sometimes it means you cannot have everything. Sometimes it means you don't get the latest and greatest iPhone 695 or whatever it is. Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes it means you don't get all 3,000 cable TV or direct TV stations. You just get basic. Sometimes it means that your internet speed is not going to be as fast as you want it to be.
Ouch.
I know. What is the world coming to? Stop the madness, as I've heard said. What is going on? It's a human right. A human right to have a smartphone and free internet. I need you to learn, because here's why. The more power you give up, whether it be to your company or to the government, the less you have. There is only 100% power. That's it, 100%. And there's 100% responsibility. So if you give up more to your employer or your government, that means you get less. If you take on more, that means they have less. If you decide that you need a second or a third job, I'm going to raise both hands there because I've done it, then that's what you have to do. I had to work an extra job or two specifically to save so that I could help my parents out, put money aside, get us out of our mess when we were young and foolish. Right? You have to do those things. It doesn't mean you're going to make every single Friday night, Monday night football game, Friday night dance, whatever it is No. Sometimes you don't. Tough luck. Sorry. Sometimes it means that second job, 100% of that just goes to get you out of debt, just to get you back to zero. That was my hope. Sometimes it means that if you lost money, if you're playing in the market, if you're playing in the stock market, you will get burned. Everybody does. That's why they call it a correction. That means somebody else got your money. That's a correction. So it makes you feel better about it. Like in some of the junior highs here, we're grading with a purple pen instead of a red pen, so people don't feel bad that they got something wrong. You don't want to hurt their feelings. Are you insane? Ask yourself when that became normal. When did it become normal to not want to hurt anybody's feelings? Oh, you're offended. Oh my gosh, come here, Susie. Can you not figure out that that makes a weaker country? It makes a weaker employer, makes a weaker employee. It makes you somebody who is so hypersensitive to the world because the world has to revolve around you and your, one boy, one girl, or your own little perfect world because you think you have it made. The world is not kind. The market does not like you. It doesn't hate you. It just doesn't know you. Couldn't care less about you. And if you're trusting any one place with your retirement dollars, you have to think twice. Jeff, I have had multiple jobs at one time. And back in the day when I had that little day book, right? The credit union would give out those date books. I don't know if they do that anymore, and I would put work this job, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Work this job, 2 p.m. to, and you would just work whatever and lay it all out. I remember doing that.
Yeah. I think those were replaced by our smartphones now.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're called now.
The old Franklin Covey, I had that, and then
oh, there you go.
The one day came where I put that on the roof of my car, and I was backing out of a parking structure, and somebody yelled at me, hey, 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 and I stopped and I went, oh my goodness, and that scared me so much that I went and got a Palm Pilot shortly afterwards and put everything in. Remember the old Palm Pilots?
Yeah.
Just so I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket.
That's right.
And lose everything. Now it was backed up in 10 places, and I'd back it up every week or whatever it was.
Well, and it's funny how that ties into being diversified in life. People can say that about their savings and their choices for where they put their money, whether it's investing or what have you. I think being diversified in your job market as well. If you have multiple jobs, maybe you like being a server and you can work. I notice this a lot. Servers will be in different restaurants, as you pointed out earlier. But maybe you have a job in retail and serving, tables at a restaurant, because if one is down and one is up, then you kind of evened out a little bit. But sometimes people just they put everything into their job, and then if that tanks, they're kind of lost. They have no other skills, no other interests outside of that industry that they've trained for, and it's kind of a dangerous situation.
And you learn to get better. Your job is to promote to manager if you like that field. It's to go back to school and take classes on managing or accounting. Your job is to become a better person so that you're nicer to be around and get rid of some of those idiosyncrasies that keep and push people away. Mm-hmm. That's how you promote. And it's not tomorrow, and you're not expected to raise a family on $12 an hour. You're supposed to use it as a way to practice and get better. And I want to encourage you, especially if you're in your 40s or 50s, a second job does not mean the end of the world. Sometimes it means you messed up in the past and you have to do it. Avoid taking huge risks with your retirement account. In my opinion, you just don't need those to get the same rates of return, or similar at least, in a safer place. That's what Total Financial Solutions is. Safer Money Hour. That's what we're all about, safety. Stay with us, top of the hour. Arif Halaby on AM 1220 KHTS.